Hello, everyone. I am Alice of KHR Arts and Cloud Orchid Publishing, and today I am going to talk to y'all about marketing milestones. This is a big topic that I get asked about a lot, and something that I've noticed a lot of writers and authors seem to have a lot of trouble with when creating their marketing campaigns to advertise their books. What I am going to lay out for y'all is basically the complete process of marketing milestones that you want to advertise, from all the way to the conception of your novel, all the way to when it becomes a book, and then, of course, the steps you can take after it's published and it's officially a book on the market. So first and foremost, a lot of people will post with Work in Progress Wednesday, currently writing, all those sort of hashtags, and that is so important with advertising your novel. I know that sounds a little bit like, but wait, it's not a book yet. It's not published yet. That's the thing, is while you are currently creating your novel, that is a great time to begin building your readership, to grow interest in your novel. Don't just talk about the word count or chapter count or whatever metric you're using in order to show the progress that you're making on the novel that you're writing. Also, talk about it a little bit. Talk about what inspired you to create this novel in the first place. Talk about what's going on with your characters. Maybe put an excerpt here and there, just a sentence or two, nothing big, to advertise that your book is in progress. I can't tell y'all how many times I have done literally this exact process, and then by the time my book is actually a book available for sale, people already know that this book exists and they're already pumped and excited to buy that book and read it because they've been with you through that whole journey. There's a whole audience of people out there that love being a part of that journey from beginning to end. So absolutely be sure to take advantage of that and post about you actively writing your novel. The next part, which also sounds kind of similar, and it is kind of similar, is also sharing your editing process while editing your novel. A lot of times this is a great way to bond in the writing community, is to share tips and tricks, things that you learned, things that you discovered didn't work as well as you thought that they would, all that good stuff with while you're editing your novel. Because not only do you want to grow your audience of readers, you also want to ingrain yourself in the writing community and make those networking connections. And a great way to do that is misery loves company, as they say. Commiserate amongst each other about how difficult the editing process can be and share your triumphs with things that you've discovered that work really well for you. The next step is sending it off to the publisher. I do not recommend calling out the publisher by name. That's really not a good idea to do. However, just putting out that little flag of submitting the manuscript to the publisher today, super excited, wish me luck, all that sort of stuff, absolutely post that. People love to hear that people are beginning that journey. People love to support that, and people love to then be on the edge of their seat waiting to hear that same news that you hope to hear, which is, yes, I got a partial, yes, I got the full ride, all that good stuff. People love to be a part of this process with you. So be sure to share those big milestones with them, like that day that you finally take your baby and you put it out there in the world. They love those vulnerable moments. So be sure to share that. And again, be careful and make sure you're not sharing too specific of information about it, because that can come back to bite you. It's good to keep things a little bit vague in terms of who you're submitting to, who you're interested in submitting to, all that kind of stuff, until things are said and done. Then, of course, as I mentioned, with receiving a partial request or receiving a full request or finally receiving that coveted full book contract, also post about those things. Again, don't be specific, don't name the publisher, just give that general flag of, yay, we made it to the next step. People love to be on that journey with you, so make sure that you're posting those flags along the way so that your audience can enjoy that journey with you and know that they are one step closer to finally having that coveted book in their hands so that they can enjoy it. And then the big one that most people do know about, this is a major milestone in advertising your book, is the cover reveal. People love a good cover reveal, y'all. They love seeing what the book is going to look like. So making sure that there's a whole special day that you are devoting to advertising the cover reveal is so important in getting your book out there. And not only that, advertising leading up to it. Pick a specific day. Oftentimes, if you're working with a publisher, if you're not self-publishing, they will let you know when the cover reveal is going to happen. So make sure that you tell people, hey, the cover reveal is dropping on April 27th, whenever it is, and then get your audience excited about that. Keep talking about it leading up to the big cover reveal day. That way, you're sure to get the maximum amount of attention on that actual day because people will be looking for it. And then, of course, another big step in advertising your book, that is the next step that's going to take you that one step closer to actually making money. Hooray for money! Is advertising pre-sales. This is usually the next step after the cover reveal. The milestone that you're going to advertise is pre-sale. Again, if you're with a publisher, they'll let you know when the pre-sales date is. If you're a self-publisher, it's a date that you can just for yourself. Doing pre-sales really, really helps because it advertises your book, it gets people excited about your book, and all pre-sale sales contribute toward first day sales, which is really important if you're self-publishing and using a platform like Amazon. Those numbers mean a lot. So basically, double dipping so that you're getting way more days of sales all crammed into your first day of sales is hugely beneficial and is going to really push your book up in the ranks for advertising. So absolutely take advantage of advertising pre-sales. My biggest thing that I suggest is having a week to 2 weeks of pre-sales. Any more than that, and people are going to start getting impatient about your book. Make sure you're not doing pre-sales too early in terms of when your book is actually going to be released, because as we all know, people's attention spans are itty bitty tiny. Make sure that you're not putting that carrot too far out on the leash because otherwise they're going to stop walking toward it. And then, of course, the most important day to advertise about your book is the release day. The day that almighty manuscript finally becomes a book. That is the day that we all live for as authors, and it is the most important day. So make sure you give it as much huzzah as it deserves. Absolutely make sure you're doing a ton of campaigning up until that day. Get people excited about that day. Make sure it's on people's calendars. Give people reasons to want to care about that day beyond just that it's the day your book drops. Do things like giveaways, raffles, all that good stuff. And then, of course, the funnest aspect of release day, release parties. Make sure you're scheduling release parties the day of release day and days after release day too, to keep that train going. Have multiple release parties for different audiences or different venues. Things like that, so that people have multiple chances to celebrate that important day with you. Especially in this day and age that we have access to all of this great technology, do in-person release days. Also do digital release days, whether it's on a streaming platform like Twitch or YouTube, or utilizing things like Skype and Zoom. All those great tools are at your disposal, so be sure to use them in advertising your book. And of course, throw an old-fashioned party, because who doesn't love a good party? And while you're there, you can be like, hey, star of the show, my book. That's the point of a release party. It's having a good time with your book being the star of the show. Now, this is the part of the game where I see a lot of people drop off in their efforts to market their books, and honestly, that's a mistake. Now, while yes, all of this lead up and the release parties and all that are so much more fun than what I call maintenance marketing once the book is a book. That is true, but it's still so incredibly important. A big mistake that writers make is thinking that once they go through that whole process that they're done and they can just sit back on their laurels and they only have to post about their book every once in a while just to keep the sales rolling. And that's just not true. Is In internet land, if you don't keep shoving things in people's faces, you drop off and become irrelevant. So you have to make sure that you have a regular marketing schedule where you are still consistently advertising your book, or if you have multiple books, advertising all of your books. Sales tend to drop off sharply after the release dates because people aren't putting this work in. In order to keep those book sales going, you really do have to put the work in and make sure that you're keeping up with this maintenance. Big way to continue to keep your book fresh and make people still excited about your book, keep it moving forward, is take advantage of whatever is happening in the world and how you can connect your book with that. Some obvious easy ones are the different holiday seasons that encourage people to buy things, especially the Christmas, Black Friday season. All of that. People buy books. It's part of the season. There are actually a lot of cultures that specifically buy books in the winter season as gifts. Be sure to research that and properly market it so that you can take advantage of that. Then, of course, there's also things like back to school reading, summer reading, all that sort of stuff. Jump on that stuff. Make sure that you are paying attention to what is going on in the calendar so that you can take full advantage of that. Is there some sort of goofy national holiday going on that just happens to coincide with a topic in your novel? Absolutely jump on that, even if it's corny. Sometimes a good corny joke is all it takes to get someone to pay attention to your book and click that link. And then, of course, there's also all of the trending topics that happen to be going on in the internet. If you see a particular hashtag trending, or maybe a particular topic everyone is talking about, take that as an opportunity to slide your book in there if that makes sense for that particular topic. It can seem sometimes like it's such a struggle to walk that tightrope of how much am I being in your face with my advertising or not. And while yes, there is a such thing as too much advertising and basically posting to the point of being annoying, that is entirely possible. However, from what I've seen, most people tend to under advertise their book rather than over advertise their book. For example, some pitfalls to avoid is don't advertise your book on other people's posts unless their post is specifically asking for other people to advertise their books. So for instance, writers lifts, follow trains, people asking for book recommendations, those sort of things, feel free to advertise your book. However, if someone is just talking about a general topic, it might not be a good idea to just put a "hey, buy my book" post in there. Be a little more tactful than that. Talk about your book. That's also a thing that people don't realize. You don't necessarily have to say, "buy my book" in order to advertise your book. Simply just talking about your book is also advertising it in a far more tactful way. There are plenty of discussions on social media where people talk about different genres, different story ideas, all those sorts of things, maybe an editing process that you used while writing your book, all that sort of stuff. You can cleverly put in there the title of your book and what exactly you want to talk about that has to do with the topic on hand in order to advertise your book without selling it. This is a really great way to get your book out there, getting it talked about, and hey, you might get a sale or two out of it. At the very least, at least your book is being talked about and people are paying attention to it. And in that, you never know when people might recommend your book to someone else because they happen to remember your book when you were talking about it. Never underestimate the power of grassroots, word of mouth, and of course, the biggest don't that unfortunately people still do, and it's not going to win you any friends, is don't be the annoying spammer. Don't just put your book link on people's random posts, especially if they're advertising their own book. Never do that. And then don't just spam your book in people's DMs either. People hate that, and that's actually a really good way to get blocked on most social media. Always be tactful in advertising your book, but make sure that you're also consistently advertising your book because when you stop talking about your book, people are going to stop reading it. I hope this has been helpful. If y'all have any marketing milestones or any marketing tips that y'all want to share, please do leave them in the comments below. And as always, these are tips based on my personal experiences as well as the experiences of people that I know personally. I hope this has helped y'all and thank y'all so much for watching. Take care. Bye bye.